I'm Alan Booth, Senior Editor here at International LabMate and Labmate-Online. Thank you for tuning in once again. Joining me as ever is my co-host and ILM colleague, Jed Thomas. Hello, Jed. How are things?
Hi, Alan. I'm very well, thank you. It's been another fascinating month across the scientific landscape. We've selected 3 standout and popular stories from LabMate-Online for this edition, and they are the latest Ig Nobel Prizes and the serious science behind the silliness. In news from the intersection of rocketry and biotech, we have Europe's first non-state-backed firm who returned living biological samples from orbit, and an Australian study that has discovered that type 2 diabetes at least doubles the risk of sepsis.
Yes, that's quite a lineup, from quirky to cosmic to clinical. As always, you can read all about these stories and many more in full on LabMate-Online. That's www.labmate-online.com. Links will be in the show notes. Let's start with something light-hearted yet meaningful, the annual Ig Nobel Prizes, the funny counterpart to the rather serious Nobel Prizes. Now marking their 35th year, they celebrate research that, as they put it, first makes you laugh and then makes you think.
Indeed, they may sound trivial, but the ideas often open up genuine avenues of inquiry. Which winners caught your eye this year then, Alan?
Well, there was a wonderful selection from the Chemistry Prize awarded for experiments to test whether eating Teflon, which of course is a PFAS, is a good way to increase food volume and hence the feeling of fullness without adding any calorific content, to the Biology Prize that went to a team who examined whether cows fitted with zebra-striped coats are less attractive to biting flies. Spoiler, yes, they are less attractive to biting flies. But the one that really stood out scientifically was the Nutrition Prize for studying the extent to which a certain kind of lizard chooses to eat certain kinds of pizza. And the answer was that he preferred extra cheese.
So the real question on my mind is, does Teflon fill you up?
Well, I don't know, and they didn't answer that question. It's perhaps not the wisest choice to try it, but the merit of this project lies more in the fact that it's a thought experiment. It pushes the boundaries of our understanding of what constitutes bulk in food, satiety and filler, to then challenge us to ask if we can imagine safe and inert bulking agents that could help with appetite control and hence problems like obesity. It's a reminder that the Ig Nobels are not about mockery, but about celebrating curiosity.
Absolutely. Discovery benefits from the room to explore both humour and serendipity. So what's up next?
Now to something more high stakes, if you'll forgive the pun. This is the story of Frontier Space, the first European, and in fact British, private company to attempt a biological orbital re-entry on a commercial space capsule.
Now this story stems from a contact you made earlier in the year at one of LRIG's conferences. They are a UK bootstrapping startup spun out from Cranfield University that launched a research lab aboard one of SpaceX Bandwagon 3 flights.
The mission goal of Space Lab Mark 1 was to test whether microorganisms can survive the heat and stress of re-entry from low Earth orbit inside the purpose-built kit. The capsule carried bacterial spores, plant seeds and simple tissue cultures, all sealed within a thermal biocontainment system.
And they succeeded?
Preliminary results suggest yes. It's the first European private life science mission to demonstrate that basic forms of life can be safely returned from space. The implications extend to astrobiology, planetary protection protocols, and of course the rapidly emerging commercial space research sector where Frontier Space Biotech sits.
It's remarkable to think that UK and Europe's space entrepreneurs are now venturing into astrobiology, a field that until recently, in my understanding, belonged exclusively to national agencies.
Indeed, Frontier Space plans to offer its capsule as a commercial platform for universities and biotech firms seeking microgravity environments to expose biological materials. It is another signal that the scope of those who can undertake space-based research is becoming broadened, indeed, if not democratized.
And now to our final story, one with very real public health consequences.
Quite so. This was a major population-based study in Australia, and it found that people living with type 2 diabetes are more than twice as likely to develop sepsis than those without the condition. Researchers from the University of Western Australia in Perth enrolled around 1,400 adults with type 2 diabetes between 2008 and 2011, who were then matched with almost 6,000 individuals without the condition according to age, sex and postcode, that sort of thing. The mean age of enrolment was 66. It comprised 52% participants being male And the health records were linked until the first instance of sepsis, new onset of diabetes in the control group, death, or when the study ended in 2021. At the time of enrolment, 2% of those with diabetes had previous hospitalization for sepsis, compared with 0.8% of the control cohort. Across an average follow-up of 10 years, 11.8% with diabetes developed sepsis, compared to 5% in the control group.
That sounds like a significant risk then from type 2 diabetes. Did they explain what drives this higher risk?
They did. Well, the study suggested that impaired glucose regulation and microvascular damage compromised a person's immune system, making infections more severe and recovery slower. Even after adjusting for age, body mass index and socio-economic factors, the risk remained 2.1 times higher on average. And alarmingly, hospital mortality among diabetic sepsis patients was also raised by nearly 40%. And worryingly for me, being a male in the age group of 50 to 60, the risk went up to 14 times.
So in effect, the diabetes acts as an amplifier of infectious disease outcomes.
Exactly. The authors recommended earlier sepsis screening for diabetic patients presenting with any infection, alongside tighter glycemic control during any hospital stay. The findings underscored the interconnected nature of chronic metabolic disease and acute infection, a lesson which we really should have learnt and was enforced during the COVID-19 pandemic.
And a reminder, especially for you, it sounds like, Alan, that prevention and early intervention saves lives in the clinic.
It does, thank you. Before we sign off, I could not resist noting an Ig Nobel Prize adjacent study which came from a Swiss group who asked the question, does the type of stressor moderate the stress-snacking relationship? One of their findings suggested that work stress did not contribute to unhealthy snacking, which leaves me both incredulous and speechless.
Yeah, that seems completely untrue. I think every editorial office everywhere would disprove that finding.
Indeed, and perhaps that explains why my biscuit tin is always empty.
Apologies for that. See you later, Alan.
Thank you, Jed, and thank you for everyone listening. Please subscribe on your preferred podcast platform so you never miss an episode, and share the link with colleagues and friends interested in the life sciences. You can also read full versions of today's stories and more at www.labmate-online.com. If you'd like to contribute editorially or support the podcast through sponsorship, please email me at alan.booth, BOOTH, @ilm-media.com. All contact details and story links will be in the show notes. Till next time, goodbye.
Trying to make a stupid joke about me eating the biscuits.